They had crushed 300 worlds, burned cities until their ashes blotted out suns, and carved their dominion across the galaxy like a scar. No fleet had ever resisted them. No species had ever survived their pacification campaigns. Their name, Velcari Dominion, was whispered like a curse. And yet, when they plotted their next conquest, their war maps highlighted a small blue sphere on the edge of the spiral arm. Sol 3. Earth. The decision was made with laughter. "This one isn't even spacefaring by proper standards," Admiral Kryn boasted, claws scraping against the armrest of his throne chair. Around him, alien officers chuckled in agreement. A few satellites, some clumsy stations. They call that civilization. His second-in-command, a lean officer with gleaming scales, smirked. "It will be quick. We should leave enough monuments behind so they know who destroyed them." The chamber roared with approval. Half a galaxy away, Adrian Hale stirred his coffee. He didn't look like the kind of man whose name would one day terrify star empires. His tie was slightly crooked, his sleeves rolled up, his hair the kind of perpetually messy that only comes from being too busy to fix it. The war table before him glowed with tactical overlays, shifting dots representing fleets, communication grids, and orbital defenses. He sipped, grimaced, and muttered, "Still tastes like the machine's rinsing itself with jet fuel." "Sir," one of his aides said cautiously, "the Velcari Armada has entered the system. Hundreds of capital ships, thousands of escorts. They've parked themselves just outside Mars." Adrian set the cup down and leaned back, calm as if someone had just told him the weather forecast. "Good. Let's make them comfortable. No one likes being rushed when they're about to make the biggest mistake of their lives." The first transmission came hours later. It was a broadcast that cut across every channel, from civilian radios to deep space relays. A towering reptilian figure appeared, his voice booming like thunder. "I am Admiral Kryn of the Velcari Dominion. You are a primitive world standing in the path of progress. Kneel or be erased." There was silence across Earth for a heartbeat. Then the reply came. Not from generals. Not from presidents. From Adrian Hale, standing in a crisp black suit now, hands folded neatly behind his back, his smile almost too polite. "Admiral Kryn," he began warmly, "welcome to Sol. Lovely to meet you. I must admit, your resume is impressive. 300 worlds, countless victories, very intimidating. Though I do wonder, how much of that resume is still verifiable? Sometimes conquerors exaggerate on paper." The alien officers bristled. Kryn's nostrils flared. "Do not mock the Dominion, human. Your kind has no standing here. You will kneel." Adrian tilted his head slightly, as though considering. His voice remained friendly, but a glimmer of steel threaded through. "We value peace here on Earth. Peace, however, is tricky business. It tends to work best when fleets return home intact. Yours seems awfully far from home." That line alone sent ripples of unease through the Velcari ranks. Inside their flagship, a younger officer whispered, "Why does he speak as if he is unconcerned?" Kryn dismissed the doubt with a snarl. "They bluff. Always bluff. Prepare a warning strike." Meanwhile, in a quiet underground control center on Earth, Adrian leaned against the table as his aides looked on nervously. One of them, a lieutenant fresh from academy, asked, "Sir, aren't you worried? That fleet could glass the planet." Adrian's smile didn't falter. "Worried? I'm annoyed my coffee's gone cold. Besides, they don't know they've already lost." The lieutenant frowned. "How can you be so sure?" Adrian tapped the glowing overlay where countless red dots clustered around Mars. Because predators that overhunt always walk straight into a trap. And we've been setting this one for decades. The Valkyrie's warning strike came swiftly, a dozen frigates peeling from formation, descending toward Earth's orbit. Their plasma batteries flared like miniature suns. The broadcast accompanied it, smug and condescending. Behold, the fire that consumed empires. Witness what awaits you. But before their guns fired, the frigates staggered. Alarms howled in their corridors. Guidance systems spun. Thrusters misfired. On Earth, Adrian simply raised one brow. And that would be our space debris network saying hello. Funny thing, our primitive satellites happen to double as kinetic interceptors when properly nudged. Shame about their frigates. Gravity's a cruel business partner. In orbit, the alien frigates collided spectacularly with redirected hunks of rock and junk, crumpling like tin cans under a sledgehammer. The wreckage lit the sky in a glittering arc. Adrian's reply broadcast went out seconds later. I do apologize. Our orbital traffic control can be dreadful this time of year. Please, feel free to send the rest of your ships. We'll try to make the landing smoother. His tone was so sincere, so maddeningly polite, that even the civilians watching the broadcast laughed nervously. But the aliens didn't laugh. Admiral Kryn slammed a clawed fist against his console. Tricks. Nothing more. Increase formation. We burn their planet until only ash remains. Yet among his officers, cracks formed. One whispered, Sir, how did a species with no interstellar fleet disable ours so cleanly? Another added, Their calmness, it's unnatural. Kryn ignored them, but the unease spread like frost. Adrian, for his part, leaned back in his chair as if watching a casual sports game. He turned to his aide. Do you know what I love most about galactic bullies? The aide shook his head. They never consider that prey might enjoy hunting season too. He stood, straightened his suit, and gave the order no one expected from a man so casual. Stage 2. Let's reel them in. The war table shifted again, red dots blinking closer. The trap was tightening. And as the Valkyrie fleet advanced with arrogant certainty, Earth's hidden hand began to move. The Valkyrie had never been mocked before. Armies had wept at their approach, empires had surrendered entire sectors to avoid their wrath. But Earth, this primitive, allegedly helpless world, had just humiliated them before the galaxy. Admiral Kryn's jaw locked as he stared at the debris field shimmering across his sensors. 12 frigates gone without firing a single shot. His officers dared not speak, but unease leaked into their posture. Bring the destroyers forward, Kryn growled. We burn their cities to prove a point. The bridge trembled as dozens of heavy warships detached from the main formation. Plasma cannons warmed, reactor cores pulsed. It was the sound of overwhelming power preparing to erase a world. On Earth, Adrian Hale leaned casually against the rail of the command balcony. The war table projected the Valkyrie's movements in clean red lines, all converging on the blue marble below. He chewed on a pen cap, completely unimpressed. Destroyers this time, one aide reported nervously. They'll target major cities. Estimated time to strike, 20 minutes. Adrian's reply was measured, almost bored. That's 20 minutes to find me a decent coffee. Our last batch tasted like engine degreaser. The aide blinked. Sir, with respect, shouldn't we? Relax, Adrian interrupted gently, turning his gaze back to the map. Do you think they'd still be moving if I hadn't planned for this? They're walking exactly where we want them. The aliens' broadcast came again, smug despite their earlier embarrassment. Kryn's voice boomed, Humans, you mistake chance for strength. We are the hammer of dominion. You will learn obedience. Adrian answered instantly, his tone polite but slicing. Obedience? Interesting word. You conquered 300 worlds by force, yes? But tell me, Admiral, how many did you keep afterward without rebellion tearing you apart? Conquest is easy. Control. Now that's difficult. Silence lingered a beat too long on the alien channel. Even Kryn's officers shifted uncomfortably. Then Kryn roared, "We do not debate with prey." Adrian smiled faintly. "Oh, then forgive me. I thought I was speaking to a peer. My mistake." The Valkyrie destroyers descended in formation, weapons humming. They aimed for New York, Shanghai, London, symbols, not targets. They wanted the galaxy to see Earth humbled in spectacular fire. Instead, they saw something else. Without warning, the destroyers' targeting systems glitched. Cannons went dark. Thrusters sputtered. One by one, ships lurched out of formation, colliding, spiraling. Their communication lines erupted in panicked static. On the war table, Adrian watched calmly. Stage 2 confirmed. The spoofing array worked beautifully. A junior officer gaped. "We actually hacked them? Sir, their systems are centuries ahead of ours." "Centuries," Adrian agreed, "but arrogance makes anything brittle. They've broadcast their operating codes across the galaxy for years. All we had to do was listen, then slip a little something into the background noise. You'd be amazed what patience buys you." Above Earth, the Valkyrie destroyers turned into a ballet of chaos, giant ships colliding like drunks in a bar fight. Fireballs bloomed. Shockwaves rolled across the void. Kryn slammed his claws against the console. How can they touch us?" His science officer stammered, "Admiral, their countermeasures, impossible, it should be impossible." "Enough," Kryn barked. "Form the Armada into siege position. If destroyers fail, then the entire fleet strikes as one." Adrian ended the call with a dry laugh. Siege position. Of course. The final mistake. He turned to his staff. "Notify orbital teams. Phase 3 is live. And someone please, for the love of all that is caffeinated, get me something drinkable." The aides scrambled. Adrian straightened his suit, smoothing non-existent wrinkles. To anyone watching, he looked like a bureaucrat hosting a press briefing. But his eyes carried that unsettling glint, politeness wrapped around something sharp, something predatory. Elsewhere across Earth, civilians stared at the sky. Telescopes and satellites captured the impossible, the galaxy's most feared warships flailing helplessly above them. News anchors struggled to explain, scientists speculated wildly. In a bar in Chicago, patrons watched on a mounted screen. One man raised his glass and muttered, "About time we got to be the scary ones." The room erupted in cheers. Back on the flagship, the Valkyrie Council of War splintered. One officer, older and scarred, dared to speak. "Admiral, this enemy is not as they seem. They bait us. They are primitives." Kryn roared. "Primitives don't dismantle destroyers with invisible hands," the officer replied coldly. "I have seen rebellions. I have seen guerrillas. This is different. They waited for us." The words rippled through the chamber. Some nodded reluctantly. Others glared, afraid to admit doubt. Kryn's eyes narrowed. "Fear will not save you. Victory will. Ready the fleet." Adrian received the report. The Valkyrie were mobilizing the full armada. His lips curved, not quite a smile. "Finally," he murmured, "they're all in the net." He keyed the comm and addressed the entire planet. his voice calm, steady. "People of Earth, the time has come. Remain calm. You may notice unusual light shows in the sky. They are not fireworks. They are history." On the alien bridge, Kryn bared his teeth. "All ships, prepare orbital fire." But before a single cannon discharged, a quiet message arrived, routed straight into Kryn's private channel. It was Adrian Hale's face, smiling politely. "Admiral," Adrian said softly, "do you know the difference between confidence and arrogance? Confidence is earned. Arrogance just makes good bait." The transmission cut, and Kryn realized, too late, that he and his 300 world crushers had just taken the bait, hook, line, and fleet. The Valkyrie Armada locked into siege orbit, thousands of ships forming a vast ring of firepower around Earth. To any observer, it looked like an execution. Plasma cannons gleamed, missile bays hummed, and dreadnought spines glowed crimson. From orbit, Earth looked small, fragile, an insect under a boot. Admiral Kryn relished the sight, even as unease gnawed at him. The humans had humiliated his destroyers, yes, but nothing could withstand the Dominion at full strength. He opened the fleet channel, his voice a growl of iron. "On my mark, fire." Deep beneath the surface, Adrian Hale stood with his hands clasped lightly behind his back, as if attending a polite reception rather than a planetary defense. The war table bloomed with projections, every Valkyrie ship, every orbit, every trajectory. His aides hovered nearby, restless, watching the red web closing around their planet. One finally broke the silence. "Sir, there are thousands of ships up there. If they fire in unison, we won't survive." Adrian's tone was calm, but his words cut clean. "They won't fire in unison. They can't. Coordination requires stability, and stability vanishes once you pull the right thread." He tapped the table, and the display shifted, highlighting subtle distortions in the Valkyrie formation. Their command relays are compromised. They don't realize it yet, but they're about to discover that Earth doesn't need to outgun them, we just need to outthink them. The Admiral gave his order. "Fire!" But only half the cannons obeyed. A quarter of the fleet misfired, their targeting systems frozen. Several dreadnoughts veered sharply out of formation, alarms shrieking. On board, engineers scrambled, shouting about corrupted navigational matrices. Kryn roared, "Report!" His officers scrambled. "Admiral, our systems, jammed. Commands aren't synchronizing." Another voice cried, "Weapons turning inward." The bridge trembled as one of their own cruisers unleashed a barrage at a nearby ally. The void filled with collisions, detonations, chain reactions ripping through their perfect ring. Kryn's eyes widened. "No. This is impossible." Adrian's voice floated through the Dominion's own channels, hijacking their comms effortlessly. His tone was measured, infuriatingly polite. "Admiral Kryn, I hope you don't mind the intrusion. You've built a remarkable fleet. Truly impressive. But the trouble with centralized command systems is, well, they're only as strong as the network. And we've been in your network for a very long time." His words echoed across every ship, every crew. Officers froze, listening. Adrian's cadence was almost conversational, but each syllable carried a quiet menace. "We watched your codes. We mapped your encryption. We waited until you surrounded us. And now, you've surrounded yourselves." In orbit, the trap snapped shut. Stealth satellites, long dormant, powered up around Earth. Thousands of tiny glints emerged from the dark. Autonomous drones, hidden in orbital debris, now armed and hungry. They swarmed like a storm of hornets, each guided by precision AI. The first wave slammed into Valkyrie hulls, drilling, exploding, shredding armor. Entire squadrons went dark within seconds. Back on Earth, Adrian sipped fresh coffee at last. "Better," he muttered, setting the mug down. Then, louder, "Engage Phase 4." The ground shook as buried silos opened. Massive launch platforms fired rods of tungsten, accelerated to hypersonic speeds. They tore through the atmosphere, invisible until impact. Each rod struck with the force of a nuclear blast, without radiation. Valkyrie battleships lit up in brutal silence, their hulls split like paper under a blade. Adrian's aide whispered, almost reverently, "We've turned the planet itself into a weapon." Adrian didn't smile. "No. We turned patience into a weapon. The planet's just the stage." On the flagship, chaos reigned. Officers screamed as systems collapsed, as drones gutted ships, as their perfect formation dissolved into a graveyard. One commander shouted, "Admiral, we must retreat." Kryn spun, eyes blazing. "Retreat? From primitives?" "They are not primitives," the officer shouted back. "They lured us here. Every move we made was theirs to predict." For the first time in centuries of conquest, the Valkyrie admiral faltered. Adrian reappeared on their main screen, as calm as if he were addressing a dinner party. "Admiral Kryn, I'd offer you terms, but I suspect you'd decline. Instead, I'll offer advice. When you've conquered 300 worlds, perhaps don't assume the next one will fall just as easily. Some worlds bite back." His smile was faint, almost kind. But behind it lay something the Valkyrie had never encountered: humanity's talent for turning weakness into a blade. "You came to teach us obedience," Adrian finished softly. "Instead, you'll teach the galaxy fear." The trap tightened further. Entire sectors of the Valkyrie fleet went dark as sabotage programs detonated from within. Engines froze, reactors overloaded, shields collapsed. Ships spiraled into each other, explosions carving fiery scars across the void. From Earth, civilians gazed upward at the shimmering sky, watching fragments streak like meteors. Some cheered. Others wept. All understood. Humanity was no longer prey. Kryn's officers begged him for orders. "Admiral, we must signal for reinforcements." "No reinforcements will arrive in time," another snapped. "We are being erased." Kryn stared at the burning wreckage. His arrogance crumbled, replaced by something colder: dread. For the first time, he realized the Dominion had not come to erase Earth. Earth had baited the Dominion, prepared for them, invited them into a kill box. And now, piece by piece, the greatest fleet in history was vanishing without a trace. Adrian stood silent as the war table updated, red dots blinking out one by one. His aides whispered reports: Sector Gamma cleared. 70% of enemy assets destroyed. Adrian simply nodded, his eyes fixed on the display. "Come." Focused. One aide asked softly, "Sir, when it's over, what then?" Adrian glanced at him, voice level. "Then we wait. The galaxy will be watching. They'll either fear us or test us. Either way, they'll know Earth is no longer silent." He turned back to the glowing table, his expression unreadable. "And when they come, we'll be ready." Above, the Valkyrie Armada unraveled into fire and silence. Adrian Hale's trap had closed. The void burned. Thousands of ships, once symbols of unstoppable conquest, now flickered as dying embers scattered across Earth's orbit. Where the Valkyrie Armada had loomed like a shadow of inevitability, only wreckage and silence remained. Except there was no wreckage. The drones didn't stop at crippling systems. They devoured the ships themselves, tearing hulls apart, feeding materials into compactors, scattering debris into nothingness. Tungsten rods hammered survivors into fragments so small even telescopes struggled to catch the light. It was as if the Armada had never existed. On the Valkyrie flagship, Admiral Kryn stood alone, his bridge collapsing around him. Alarms shrieked, consoles sparked, smoke filled the air. His officers lay dead or fled. He stared at the screens in disbelief. 300 worlds conquered. 3 centuries of dominance. And undone in a single system by a species the Dominion had dismissed as backward. The calm crackled. Adrian Hale's face appeared again, infuriatingly calm. "Admiral," Adrian said, voice smooth, "you fought valiantly. But I must be honest, your fleet's collapse was not chance. It was demonstration." Kryn rasped, "Demonstration?" Adrian leaned slightly forward, tone as polite as ever. "Of course. You see, Earth wanted you here. We studied you for decades, waited for the Dominion's arrogance to deliver the perfect stage. You provided the actors. We provided the ending." Kryn staggered, claws gripping the console. "You planned this?" "Every detail," Adrian replied. His words were soft, but they carried the finality of a judge delivering sentence. "We let you see our satellites. We let you believe our world was unguarded. We let you think conquest would be simple. And then, when you gathered your greatest armada in one place, we closed the trap." Kryn's breath came ragged, disbelief etched into every line of his face. Adrian's gaze hardened, the polite mask slipping just enough to show the predator beneath. "Understand this, Admiral. Earth doesn't play for survival. We play for permanence. And you've just volunteered your fleet as the opening announcement." The transmission cut. Moments later, the Valkyrie flagship erupted into fire. The galaxy trembled. Broadcasts of the battle, captured by every listening probe and relay, raced across the stars. Billions watched the impossible. The Dominion Armada, the hammer that had crushed 300 worlds, annihilated in less than a day. Not merely defeated, erased. On distant colonies, citizens whispered of Earth with awe and fear. On neutral worlds, councils debated frantically, ally with humanity or prepare for inevitable conflict. And across rival empires, leaders sat in silence, realizing a new apex predator had revealed itself. In the Earth Command Center, the war table cleared. Every red dot was gone. The room, filled with aides and officers who had braced for extinction only hours before, now sat in stunned quiet. Adrian broke it with a simple statement: "Operation Curtain Call is complete." Murmurs spread, a mix of relief and disbelief. One aide finally asked, "Sir, why call it Curtain Call?" Adrian adjusted his tie, eyes glinting. "Because it was theater. We didn't just fight them, we staged their downfall. And the galaxy was our audience." He glanced around the room, his calm composure returning. "From this moment forward, Earth won't be ignored. They'll come asking who we are. Some will want peace. Others will test us. Either way, they now know the cost of underestimating humanity." He picked up his coffee cup, swirled the last cold sip, and grimaced. "Still terrible. Someone please fix that machine before the next war." Laughter rippled through the room, nervous but real. That night, Adrian prepared the final broadcast, one not aimed at the Valkyrie, but at every listening world. Cameras flicked on. His voice carried across the stars, measured, unhurried. "Citizens of the galaxy," he began, "you've witnessed the end of the Dominion Armada. They came to erase us. Instead, they erased themselves. Humanity does not seek conquest. But let it be understood, if you bring war to Earth, war will follow you home. He let the words hang in silence, each syllable a quiet blade. Then, softer, consider this not a threat, but an invitation. Treat us as allies, and you'll find friends. Treat us as prey, and you'll find nothing at all. The screen faded to black. In the aftermath, Adrian remained in his office, alone. Reports stacked high, messages from world leaders demanding explanations, ambassadors begging for strategy meetings. He ignored them for the moment, staring at the stars through the reinforced glass. One aide entered cautiously. "Sir, do you think they'll believe you? That we want peace?" Adrian chuckled faintly. "They'll believe what they want. Fear makes people see monsters, even in the mirror. All we did was show them the truth. Earth smiles with teeth." The aide hesitated. "And if they come again?" Adrian's eyes stayed fixed on the stars, his tone almost casual. "Then we set another stage. Curtain rises. Curtain falls." He finally turned, his polite smile returning. "Now go get some rest. Tomorrow we begin rehearsals for Act 2. In the darkness of space, where once a fleet had stretched from horizon to horizon, nothing remained. No wreckage. No survivors. Not even echoes of battle. Just silence, deep, endless, and absolute. And from that silence, one truth spread across the galaxy like wildfire. After crushing 300 worlds, the Velcari Dominion had turned toward Earth, and not even wreckage was found.